So 1 day down, 4 to go. It's the second day of Royal Ascot, and yet again we're going to do a live Facebook through the card session. And today's Timeform expert is our tipping editor, the man whose job title's changed recently, isn't it? Now head of tipping at Timeform,
Simon Walker. Yeah, more important job now. Much more important job.
So yesterday, of course, was a very interesting one on the racing front. A few course records, and the small matter of Lady Aurelia. She was quite impressive, wasn't she, in the King's Stand?
Yeah, that was the performance of the day, undoubtedly. I mean, the ground was extremely quick, as you've touched on. Several course records. In terms of actually outstanding performances, time performances, there weren't actually any yesterday. But Lady Aurelia ran to a cracking Timeform rating of 135.
Blimey.
When in the King's Stand, and that is big in the scheme of all-time Timeform ratings for mares. She's up there with the likes of All Along and Pebbles, Dahlia from the mid-70s, and the only sprinting mare that I could find higher than her was Habibti, who was 136. So it basically puts it into perspective. She is damn good, really, really good, and it'll be a pleasure for her to come back, and hopefully she can do it again in the Nunthorpe.
That'd be very exciting. So we'll jump straight into today's action, and we kick off with the Jersey Stakes, which very much seems to these days throw up a Group 1 performer. Ribchester won it last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first real meeting of the Guineas form. We did have the English 1000, 2000, and obviously there's the French in there as well, which is represented by Le Brevido. And I personally think that that's a justifiable favourite, Le Brevido. That was his first run on turf when he just got touched off in the Pouliche, and he was impressive the way he went through the race. He got into it virtually on the bridle, and he just lost out on the nod. The front three were a long way clear for a classic. They were 6 lengths clear, and for me that looks like the strongest form, and he's obviously got the potential to do a bit better again, with him being still short on experience. The ground is a slight unknown. He's not raced on anything firmer than good so far, but you never know until they've tried it.
So Le Brevido, they're picking the first?
Yeah, for me.
Okie dokie. Straight into the second race, and a really interesting one here because it's the Queen Mary Stakes. It's been won 2 years running now by Wesley Ward, and there's one at the top of the market, Happy Like a Fool. Now after Lady Aurelia's performance yesterday, does everything point to a huge performance from this one as well?
Well, it does really. That doesn't necessarily mean she's anything to bet on, because I'd personally like to see more racecourse evidence before I'm parting with my cash, and this isn't all racecourse based, is it? She's just got the one run at Keeneland where she bolted up by a wide margin, and she's probably very good. The evidence suggests as much. The Coolmore trio of Smith, Magnier and Tabor have bought into her since that debut performance. They don't buy into horses that aren't particularly good. They don't throw their money away. We know that they're very shrewd, and Mr. Ward has been bullish in what he's been saying about her. She's about 5 to 4, 11 to 10, something like that. I personally would just watch and hope that she's something damn good again, and you can get a bit of a buzz from it rather than necessarily backing it up with hard cash.
Yeah, it's interesting that with all the talk, he was very positive about Lady Aurelia, but this one seems the one that has drawn the most excitement, I think, in the comments running up to. So,
well, he's making the race his own, isn't he? Really, if he can win it 3 years in a row, it's a blinding achievement, and we know that they are revved up and ready to go. We know that from his 2-year-olds. When he gets one right, the market's nearly always right.
Well, we'll see then. So, Happy Like a Fool in the second, and on to the third race, the Duke of Cambridge Stakes, which is very competitive. Laugh Aloud missing, unfortunately, but still a competitive heat. Kamara favourite at 9 to 4. What's the angle in this one?
I think it's worth having a go at the first two in the betting here, Kamar and Usherette. Kamar was beaten by Mix and Mingle on a reappearance at Lingfield, and there's a bit of a doubt as to how she's going to cope with really fast ground. She bombed out in the Falmouth last year on very firm ground, where she reportedly bled that day, and obviously she was turned over on a reappearance. And Usherette's form when winning this race last year is something of a standout now. She's run 3 times subsequently and hasn't really got within £7 of it, and I just think it's worth having a go at those two, and I would do it with Mix and Mingle myself. Timeform as a company took the view that she was potentially flattered when she won the Chartwell at Lingfield last time out, because Ryan Moore was the only one who stayed towards the sometimes favoured Stand Rail. But I'm not actually that sure that she was. She travelled extremely well. She looked like the winner on merit for me, and you can make both bits of form this season higher than we've got them. And I think she's a sporting bet at about 9 to 1, I do, yeah.
Each way or straight out, do you think?
If you can find firms that do slightly more advantageous each way turns than they normally do. Some firms bet on, you get quarter the odds, don't you, at first three here at big festival meetings, then yeah, wouldn't put people off.
Okie dokie, mix and mingle in the third then, and onto the feature, the Prince of Wales Stakes, and there's three really interesting ones in here with three different profiles. We've got the stalwart group Grade 1 winner in Highland Rail, who always seems to get the job done. One who's been very lightly raced in Jack Hobbs, but is top class in his time. And Ulysses, a highly progressive sort. What's the angle on this? Or is it someone from further back in the market that could feature?
No, I think Ulysses is a pretty good bet in this, about 4 to 1. I think that Jack Hobbs' history of training difficulties just do make you worry about how he's going to cope with really fast ground. I mean, the course executive said they put on another 5 mils last night, which may have taken a bit of the sting out of it, but experience tells you that when when the weather is as warm as this, basically the water just goes straight up in the air, and it doesn't make a great deal of difference. It really doesn't. So it will be really quick again today, and I think that's a bit of a concern for Jack Hobbs, and I think it makes it a bit more of a test of speed than ideal for Highland Reel. He showed last time out in the Coronation Cup that he's a really strong stayer about 1.5 miles, and I just don't think he's quite as potent at 1.25 miles on quick ground. And Ulysses for me looked really good at Sandown and reappearance. The form might be several pounds behind that shown by the top two in the market, but he looked as though he was ready to make that step up again now. He quickened from the back in a steadily run race, put it to bed, and basically gave the impression that he'll be finding a bit more when he needs to, and hopefully that'll be today.
Okay, so a really easy one next, a 29 runner Royal Hunt Cup with a 8 to 1 favourite in the form of LVIP. How do you play a race of this nature?
Well, I tend not to be honest. It sounds a bit dull and boring, but as one of my colleagues in here quite often refers to races like this as equine bingo, they are extremely difficult. I realise that bookmakers like them, but they like them for a reason. We haven't even got much of an idea with regards to the draw this time. There was just the one handicap yesterday, and that was over 2.5 miles, so we didn't get much of a steer as to which side of the track is necessarily going to be favoured, if any, so that doesn't help. I've plumped for Banksy, purely from a handicapping point of view, really, in that he won the Spring Cup on his reappearance, and he only went up £4 for that, and yet several of those horses who were behind him that day have come out, done better since, and gone up in the weights more than Banksy has. So he's meeting them on better terms despite having beaten them. The fact he's been laid out, well, he hasn't run since, suggests that connections have had this in mind for him for a while, and the Kamani stable is in really good nick. It's probably going as well now as it has for a few seasons. There not been many run poorly at all, so Banksy at about 12 to 1, but not especially confident.
Okay, well, that's one easy race. Another easy race, the Sandringham Handicap. I think there's 24 in this one. Gymnast, a good winner at Chester, unlucky at Kempton on subsequent run, is a 6 to 1 favourite. Is she the one to beat, or is there plenty of value in behind? She's got a chance, undoubtedly. Just don't know whether she's particularly good value now at 5 to 1. I think she was 5 to 1 10-15 minutes ago. She's unexposed. Quite a lot of those down the bottom of the weights are still relatively unexposed. There's a fair few that have got Timeform P's on them, and I think Henry Candy's horse is certainly one of those. Queen of Time is an interesting runner, was a pretty emphatic winner of what looked an okay race at Goodwood last time. At a bigger price, I think Grecian Lights may be worth a speculative wager. You look at our card, the Timeform card, and she doesn't really appear to have much of a chance at the weights, but that's because I think there's a chance she could improve for this big field scenario. She's a keen going filly, she takes a real strong hold, and sometimes hasn't had much left at the business end as a result, but there's a chance she'll settle better in a big field, likely stronger pace, and we know that Godolphin have a really good record in these handicaps. They showed they were in good nick yesterday when they dominated the card, and she's
at least 20 to 1, and I thought each way could probably do worse than that.
Nice one. So Grecian Lightworth are going the last. And before I let you go, I asked Jono yesterday, and he put up, I think, Danzino. Is there anything later on in the week that has caught your eye at all, or?
I'd be lying if I said there was, because I'm taking it a day at a time at the moment.
Okay.
So I apologise for that.
Oh, not a problem. No. So right, well, I'm gonna have to run round and turn the camera off. So you just look busy.
Okay.
And happy punting.